Hello, everyone. My name is Arnaud Varin. I'm a senior product manager for TIBCO Spotfire, and I'm happy to be here today with you to present what's new in our latest release, Spotfire 11.5 that we just released last week. In this presentation, I do not intend to make any forward-looking statements, but in the case I do, we have this standard disclaimer in place here. All right, so a quick reminder of who's TIBCO, what we do at TIBCO. At TIBCO, our mission is to help our customers connect their systems, unify their data, and predict the future. And these three pillars, connect, unify, and predict, form what we call the TIBCO Connected Intelligence, which solves the most complex data problems across all types of industry. And if we look at the big pillar that provides capabilities around visual analytics, data science, and streaming analytics, we see that one of the main reasons why enterprises choose TIBCO is because we provide market-leading technologies for every single type of analytics. And Forrester, an independent market research company who research the business impact of technology, evaluates TIBCO and its competitors every year. And TIBCO is the only vendor that is a leader in all three analytics markets: visual analytics, data science, and streaming analytics. And this means that we at TIBCO can help solve every type of problems that involves understanding data to figure out what happened in the past, what's happening right now, and help you predict confidently what is going to happen next. Now, if we look at the analytics market, what's happening right now is a great convergence. We see a convergence of technologies with human insights, data, machine learning, and automation coming together. And we also observe a convergence of user types, the convergence of personas. If we look at data or analytics teams, which are composed of data analysts, data scientists, domain experts, data engineers, data architects, business experts, they are also focused on these four aspects. And we solve this with hyper-converged analytics, something TIBCO uniquely can deliver, which brings visual analytics, data science, and streaming together in a seamless experience that delivers immersive, smart, real-time business insights in an easy-to-use and tailored way, and built for data-driven decisions at scale, both by humans and automated processes. Now, looking more specifically into Spotfire, while Spotfire may be most known for visual data discovery and more advanced use cases, what we see every day is that customers use Spotfire across all analytics and business intelligence use case. Spotfire is a full spectrum analytics platform that supports visual analytics and data science, dashboards, reports, analytic applications, embedded analytics, and even on-the-field use of analytics on mobile devices. And in addition to supporting all these BI use cases, Spotfire lets you use all kinds of data for insights: static data, real-time, big, small data, in memory or in database, and in any combination. Now, let's dive into Spotfire 11.5. Spotfire 11.5 is available as a mainstream release. Just to remind you, mainstream releases are frequent releases. We have new mainstream releases approximately every 1 or 2 months, and these releases are dedicated to customers who want to access to the latest improvements and enhancements as quickly as possible. So if you're using mainstream releases, I encourage you to update to Spotfire 11.5. And if you're using long-term support releases, Spotfire 10.10 and 11.4 are still the current LTS releases, still under support, and they are not affected by this release. With Spotfire 11.5, we focus on 4 main areas: discovery, data, admin and deployment, and developers. Starting with discovery. Data discovery is what Spotfire was made for, letting humans discover insights about their business using data. Data discovery is the combination of visual analytics and data wrangling. The two are needed to find answers to your questions. And data discovery is also about data science and AI to make the user experience faster and easier and to lead to new insights one might not have found otherwise. About data science, since Spotfire 11.0, we saw the new FX flyout, which is a quick access to all your data functions and statistical tools. TIBCO Enterprise Runtime for R was updated to version 6 with Spotfire 11.1. In 11.3, adding data functions from Spotfire Web Client, Business Author. So when you pick something from the FX flyout, you can map parameters directly from the flyout using web-based, easy-to-use dialogues. This was a great improvement. We think it really unlocks very powerful data functions to analysts. In 11.4, we added support for Amazon SageMaker, which allows to access a complete portfolio of machine learning tools and automatically build, train, and tune machine learning models. And also in 11.4 released this summer, we added several new options when it comes to managing Python packages and repositories. And with this new user experience for data science in Spotfire comes data functions that you can use. And there is already a great number of data functions available from TIBCO community in various categories like data preparation, data modeling, predictions, data access, geospatial, and so on. These assets range from simple data preparation, like removing duplicates, to really advanced functions like wafer pattern detection and gradient boosting machine regression. The data science user experience in Spotfire is the quickest and easiest in the market to get started with data science, with a new immersive workflow for adding and mapping data function. And now with Spotfire 11.5, we are taking this a step further with the ability to adjust the data function directly from visualizations. With Spotfire 11.5, we made it very easy for business users to use data functions as part of their visual analytics flow. So you can now interactively change the input data functions and observe the effect in the visualizations dynamically. There is no longer the need to navigate away from your visualizations to test alternative inputs. They are all available for tuning and tweaking, and you can immediately see how visualizations respond to different variables value. And I'd like to show it to you now. Here, we are looking at the data sets from the OECD with about 20 indicators: demographics, economics, incomes, life expectancy, a few environmental indicators, criminal measures, and self-reported indicators such as life satisfaction and death for a list of 38 countries. And we want to identify groups of countries that are similar in the sense of these numbers. We can use this parallel plot here. That's an excellent visualization analyzing multivariate data. And we do also have a map as a details visualization. So I can choose countries in the parallel plot and see how this compares. For example, if I choose Finland here and here France, we see that they are very similar when it comes to life expectancy, but not at all similar in how safe they feel when walking home at night. But due to the number of indicators and the number of countries, this approach to finding similar groups of countries might take a while. That's why we made it a lot easier to bring in data science in Spotfire to help you in your visual data discovery process. Now, from the effects flyout, I can find data functions that are already pinned to my panel, or I can search for others in the library, just the same way as with visualizations in the visualization panel. Let's use a data function called clustering dbscan right here from the FX flyout. I can read the description that is using this function is using the dbscan algorithm, but I do not have to read this unless I want to. Nevertheless, the first time you use a data function, it's important to read about the parameters descriptions to make sure you set them up appropriately. Here, I want to use this data function to cluster on all relevant parameters from my data. So I will select my 20 or more indicators that we have on the parallel chart. I have two additional parameters, EPS, which is a distance measure, and minimum samples, which is the minimum number of samples that are required to define a cluster. You can easily learn more about them from the description. You also have links here to learn more. And for this demo, I will just use some default values here, 3.2, and for minimum samples, let's say 3. Now my input parameters are set. I click OK. And for the output of the function, it's just a single generated column that describes the cluster ID that will be added to my data table. Here, Spotfire understands that and automatically suggests this new column to be added to the original data table. And I click OK. And we see now that in my data, I have this new column cluster ID that was added. If I unmark, here we have all the full list of countries. And we see that there is a cluster ID with -1. This -1 has to be interpreted as not belonging to a cluster at all, or noise, if you want. Now, retrieve this new column added here in my data, and I can easily drag cluster ID to color my parallel plot. We've got two clusters, 0 and 1, since -1 is noise. Now, I want to see if I can get to some more granular clustering. I want to try some other values of input parameters for EPS and minimum samples. And here is one more thing that we've made a lot easier. It's about tuning existing data functions in Spotfire. Now, with Spotfire 11.5, I can access and tune the input of a data function directly from my visualization, just by clicking the new effects icon on my color axis, and I retrieve my input parameters. Let's change this to 0.9, and here to 2, and hit refresh. Now the data function run, and I get 4 clusters this time. And if we look into the clusters and the map, we can see that we end up with clusters that are, in most cases, consisting of countries that are geographically close. So without leaving my visual data discovery flow, I'm now able to use this relatively advanced clustering technique in order to find similar data points. And personally, I don't have any real data science skills, but I can now use data science techniques just like everyday visual analytics operations using simple point and click and drag and drop. And this is interactive tuning of data functions in Spotfire 11.5. Yep. So we are very excited about this new feature. It's now easier than ever to edit new to edit data functions input values and link document properties in the context of your visualization. You can even change input column expressions and toggle automatic refresh of the data functions right from your visualization. Interactive tuning of data functions is available for authors in edit mode, and it can be disabled from the data functions options under tools, options, and data functions, or using a new preference for administrators. Next up is actionable notifications. Here, we now allow you to do more with your notifications in Spotfire, enabling you to take action or get more information. For instance, navigating to another page or bookmark, or creating new pages or visualization, and even act on visualizations to highlight where the insights falls. And this directly from the click of an action in notification. Let me show you a quick example of how an actionable notification looks like. Here's, I'm opening a simple Spotfire applications used by a clothing company to analyze sales, inventory, and delivery time for 3 different brands. And as I run the application, you see Spotfire automatically analyze and forecast delivery time. If I click here, I get more information on this notification, and I can act on this notification, either by clicking the review button here or the review button there. I will click directly right here. If I click the review button, like I just did, this button sends a callback function and perform actions. In this case, it's navigating to another page, which shows me the insight summary. But it could also create a new page, create a new visualization, or other operations that are supported by the notification service. So using actions in notifications, you can get to more information, go directly into one insight, or take action in your Spotfire document. And that's actionable notifications in Spotfire. Now, the files and data panel, or the plus menu on the top left. Here, we've added new customizations options to help you get to the analysis or data you're looking for quicker. In the recommended view, you can now choose to view a larger number of items under each section and view them either as lists or grids. It's also possible to hide unused sections, for example, the sample analysis section. And in Spotfire Analyst and Business Author, you can now also choose your preferred starting view, either the recommended view, the Spotfire library, and even a specific folder in the library. You can also maximize fully your visualization canvas to the size of your Spotfire window by enabling Maximize Canvas. This will hide all the menus in Spotfire and show you Spotfire to the side of your window. And still around user experience, we know that scrolling a Spotfire analysis page, the scrolling action may unintentionally cause the map to zoom. So there is now a new option to scroll page instead of zooming a map. It's disabled by default, and you will find this option under the map chart appearance properties. Let me show you these new features. So this is Spotfire 11.5, and you see on the recommended panel now, you can choose to display your recent analysis as grid, as it used to, or as list, and you can also choose a number of items that you would like to see. It's the same experience for recent data. And you can also now hide sections from your recommended panel. Another option is to change the starting view of your plus panel. By default, Spotfire shows you the recommended sections with recent analyses and recent data, but you can change that to your library. Just select library, use as starting view. And it's the same for any folder here in your library. So every time you will open the plus panel, it will open to the library folder that you showed them. Open a simple analysis. Oops. Here. Now, I have this scrolling page. So this is a Spotfire analysis displayed as a scrolling page here. And you see that now here, there is sometimes some conflicts between the map chart zooming and the scrolling of the page. And now under the map chart appearance properties, you have this new setting to scroll page instead of zooming map. And when I enable this feature and scroll the page, I scroll the page only and not the map. In order to scroll the map, I just need to push the count button in addition to my scroll wheel on my mouse. The last thing I wanted to show you is the maximize canvas option, which hides all the Spotfire menus to show your analysis in full screen without having to share your analysis through the web. To get back to normal mode, just press escape or this small button right here. This is maximize canvas. With Spotfire 11 released back in November last year, we added the ability to build and use custom visualizations in Spotfire. They are named visualization mods, and very quickly we've seen tractions for mods, and we added new visualization mods on a regular cadence on the TIBCO Community Exchange and TIBCO Cloud Spotfire. We have now 14 new ready-to-use visualizations for Spotfire, with, for example, a network chart diagram, a spider chart, a 3D scatter plot, a Sankey diagram also, and many more. And they all work both on Spotfire window client and web client. And we are continuing this effort with new mods published by TIBCO, TIBCO partners, TIBCO customers also, and individual developers as well. So stay tuned. We have new Brit mods coming soon to the TIBCO Community Exchange. Latest mods released this summer are the bump chart, designed to explore changes of ranks over time, and the Sankey diagram to visualize a flow from one set of values to another. This mod was built and shared by Holger Szymanski, a Spotfire user. And so, like Holger, you can share your own mods with the TIBCO's users community by submitting them to the TIBCO Community Exchange. All mods are submitted are reviewed based on a set of technical, content, and design criteria. They have to meet certain specific code and features requirements in Spotfire that are described in the guidelines page. And they have to pass these requirements to get approved for publication and to get validated on the TIBCO Community Exchange. So if you're working on a mod and you want to share that with the TIBCO users community, contact me or read on the TIBCO community the guidelines and how to publish your mod. Next, with data. Any data analysis and any data discovery starts with data. What data one can use for analytics is an ever-expanding space, and here our objective always is to have users able to analyze any data in Spotfire. The Spotfire connector for Amazon Redshift now supports cross-data table queries or data sharing. This means with Spotfire 11.5, you can now connect Spotfire to an Amazon Redshift database, but query other databases in that cluster directly from Spotfire. All databases, shared or not, will show up in the views in connection dialog so that you can select schemas, tables, and columns cross database, just as easily as if they were located in the same database. As an Azure Synapse analytics partner, Spotfire is recognized for providing a consistent and optimal experience to individuals who are using Spotfire connected to Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics is the evolution of Azure SQL Data Warehouse, which Spotfire has supported for many years. And we have worked together with the Synapse analytics team to ensure that we adopt their latest optimizations and branding guidelines. And in addition to extensive verification, we now also provide application name and version using Synapse telemetry tagging. Speed up data extraction and data imports into Spotfire in-memory data tables. The native Google BigQuery connector now uses the Google BigQuery high-throughput storage API. And this translates into a massive speed increase for data extraction. In our latest benchmark, loading 1 million rows went from 9.5 minutes to only 17 seconds. Lastly, for data acts, with Spotfire 11.5, we now support many more data types in the TIBCO Spotfire connector for TIBCO Data Virtualization. Now, administration and deployment. One of our pillars in this area is freedom. Freedom of being vendor neutral, freedom of being cloud agnostic. And Spotfire now supports PostgreSQL version 13, both for Windows and Linux, as the Spotfire server database. Version 13 is the latest stable version, and it is supported by all major cloud providers. Many customers are trying to go from LDAP towards cloud identity management with cloud services like Azure Active Directory. But this process, anyhow, is not easy. Azure ID supports OpenID Connect for authentication, but groups are not stored in OpenID Connect, and this leads to a need for a complex manual sync between LDAP and Azure Active Directory. And that sync is dependent on the LDAP's directory structure. Now, Spotfire supports SCIM-compliant APIs for user and groups provisioning. SCIM stands for System for Cross-Domain Identity Management and provides a standard set of parameters for managing users and groups, which makes these user provisioning integrations easier for cloud-native applications. And with Spotfire 11.5, you can configure Spotfire Server to synchronize users, groups, or group memberships from one provider to another by using SCIM standard APIs. For easier and faster integration using open standards, we continue adding support for diverse IETF RFCs related to OpenID and OAuth2. The ones in this release are related to SCIM. For example, we added support for token endpoint authentication method as another mechanism for dynamically registering OAuth2 clients with authorization servers. The Spotfire built-in OAuth2 Authorization Server now supports the client secret post-token endpoint authentication method. Since some SCIM clients require a long-lived access token to be provided during configuration, a new command line interface, issue access token, has been added to facilitate issuing long-lived access tokens to API clients. As these tokens required revoking and renewing, the Spotfire server now supports OAuth2 token revocation for access and refresh tokens issued to the API clients. And additionally, a new command line interface, revoke token, now allows revoking a given access or refresh of a token that was previously issued to an OAuth2 client. Now, as part of our journey towards .NET 5 and soon .NET 6, we are migrating part of the code and updating all the dependencies to .NET Standard. Therefore, as a necessary step for moving toward .NET 5, .NET Framework 4.8 is now the minimum version supported by Spotfire. And my last part today, for Spotfire developers. I mentioned actionable notifications earlier. This is enabled by the Spotfire Notification Service API, which now supports defining actions and callback functions. This means that it is possible to build analytic applications that use the notification service to notify the user about something and to offer the user clickable choices of actions. It can be used, for example, for custom recommendations, as I showed you in my demo. This API can be called from Iron Python scripts or C# extensions. This screenshot here shows a custom recommendation, including a review action, that's what I showed you before. If the user clicks review, a callback function is called, which can perform actions, in this case, navigating to another page, but it can also create new pages and visualizations or other operations that are supported by the notification service. For visualization modes developers, it is now possible to have the tooltip of a visualization mode to be configured using the standard Spotfire tooltip with the same capabilities as in native visualizations, such as choosing what values to display and in what format. This enables analysts and business users to control what detailed information is displayed when highlighting data in a visualization in a way that is most relevant for their use cases. For developers with just a few lines of code, you can now take advantage of using the standard tooltip configuration option in your mode visualization. And the previous tooltip API is still supported. Still for visualization modes developers, in 11.5, we have improved the heuristics for what default expression are assigned to the axis of your visualization mode. This gives better default configurations in general and avoids invalid expressions. The improved heuristics work out of the box for all existing modes, and the mod developer can control this even further with the option to set allowed data types for each axis. In Spotfire 11.5, we have removed the jQuery UI JavaScript library. We started deprecating jQuery UI with Spotfire 10, but now it's completely removed from the Spotfire distribution. If you rely on this library on your Spotfire applications, we have resources on how to include your own instance of jQuery UI in text area. You'll find this in TIBCO community. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. As you saw, lots of exciting stuff in this release, which brings data science to your visual analytics experience with interactive tuning of data functions from visualizations, powerful actionable insight notifications, and refinements to the most advanced analytics platforms. If you want to learn more, I advise you to just go read the What's New in TIBCO Spotfire 11.5 page on TIBCO community, where you will find all the details about this release, and obviously release notes that you will find as part of the Spotfire documentation. And with that, I thank you so much.